Sometimes a simple question from a 5-year-old can just cut through all the noise, all the complexity, and get right to the very heart of the world's biggest problems. Today, we're going to dive into one of those conversations. It's between a mother and her son, and it starts with tears, but it ends with a truly universal truth.
So let's just drop right into the middle at this moment. The first thing you notice is it's not the child crying, it's the mother. And the question, "Why are you crying?" comes from her little boy, Vihan. Right away, it kind of flips what you'd expect, and it pulls us into this really intimate, powerful scene.
And here we find out why she's crying. It's not just her own sadness, it's her child's fear. At just 5 years old, he's already so tuned into the world around him. He's hearing about bombings, about kids losing their parents, and he's scared. This is the raw emotion that kicks this whole thing off.
So what's the first thing you do when your child is scared? You try to make them feel safe, right? The mother's first instinct is to use logic, to put some distance between the fear and the reality. "We are far away," she says. It's that practical, adult answer meant to bring immediate comfort. But a child's fear doesn't always play by the rules of logic.
And this is where you really see these two worlds collide. Mama's thinking like an adult about geopolitics, about the grim realities of war. But for her son, Vihan, suffering is suffering, period. Distance doesn't make it any less real or any less scary. In his world, in his heart, there are no borders.
But see, Vihan, he doesn't just stop at being scared. Nope, he immediately starts trying to solve the problem. And he uses the only tools he has, the pure, completely unfiltered logic of a child. He'd read somewhere that the Olympics were originally created so that armies could compete in games instead of on the battlefield. So his question is just so simple and logical. Why don't they do it now? Why risk people's lives when you could just play a game? It's a question that cuts through everything, and honestly, one that a lot of adults probably wish had an easy answer.
So the mother tries another approach. This time she starts to layer on different kinds of protection to try and soothe him. She starts with the tangible stuff, the brave soldiers out there, the brave police here at home. And when that's not quite enough, she moves to the spiritual, talking about guardian angels and God watching over them. She's building this fortress of safety around him with her words.
But Vihan's empathy, it's just too big to be contained in that fortress. He immediately thinks beyond his own family. Who's protecting the protectors? What about their kids? He says, "I saw their children crying too." And with that one question, he just completely breaks down the barrier between us and them. He gets that everyone is vulnerable.
And this is where we get to the real heart of their conversation. All the adult reassurances, all the logic, it's all fallen short against this little boy's huge capacity for empathy. And now, Vihan is about to ask the one question that his mom just can't answer.
To really get why this next question hit so hard, you have to know what happened the day before. It was Children's Day. For him, that meant treats, fun, celebration. But now that joy is crashing head-on into this new awful awareness that other kids around the world are suffering. The contrast is just so stark, and he can't make it make sense. And there it is, the question that just hangs in the air between them. It's not about politics or strategy or any of that. It's a question about fundamental fairness from a child who just cannot wrap his head around why happiness isn't for everyone. And in the end, what can she say? I mean, really, what can you say to that? Her silence becomes the only honest answer. It's this quiet admission that the world isn't fair, that there are no easy explanations for why some children get to celebrate while others suffer. It's just a heartbreaking, shared moment of understanding where words just aren't enough anymore.
But, it doesn't just end there in that heavy silence. Out of that feeling of helplessness, something else starts to grow. It becomes this universal hope, a prayer that really speaks for parents everywhere.
This is her only possible response. It's not an explanation, it's a wish. It's this profound hope for a future where every single child gets to be a child, safe and sound with the people they love. She's pivoting from explaining the world as it is to wishing for the world as it should be.
And you just know, this isn't just one mother's prayer. This is the silent wish in the heart of every parent. It doesn't matter where they live, what they believe, or which side of a line they happen to be on. It's totally universal. So really, when you strip away all the complexity, the politics, the justifications, it all boils down to these three simple, powerful things, doesn't it? For all kids to be happy, for all kids to be safe, and for that to be true everywhere, for everyone.
And that really leaves us with something to think about. This conversation, it's like a mirror. It forces us to look at the world's injustices through the clear, honest eyes of a child. And it poses a question not just for this one mother, but for all of us. When our kids look at us with that pure, honest logic, how do we even begin to explain the world we've made?